Good evening, everyone. We will call the December 14th Bluffton Town Council meeting to order. We'll start by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Toomer.
Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day that you've given us. I also want to thank you for the opportunity to serve the people of this town. May we look to you for decisions, guidance on decisions that will come before us tonight, and always put you first. I ask that you be with us as we celebrate Christmas next week. Let us enjoy our time together with family and friends, but especially help us to not forget the reason for the season. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. We have next is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes, Mr. Steese?
Mayor, the only one possibly would be we have a presenter that is not present yet.
Okay.
If he doesn't show up, that would be the workshop agenda item that we would need to remove or skip.
Okay, thank you. With that one possibility, is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? I think Ms. Frazier. Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. We had two meetings. One was a workshop in October and one was our regular meeting. So the workshop minutes of October 19th, are there any changes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Followed by last month's meeting, November 9th. Were there any changes? If none, is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. We're going to skip number 1 and do number 2 next because we have a lot of young people here, and I think they have a basketball game they have to get to, which is very important, I know. So I will come down. As I come down, we've done this in the past where we recognize students, and tonight seems to be student night with our parade and with our successes on the football field. The volleyball court is very important to me, as some of you may know, and cross country is very important, but this is football tonight, so we will move on with other celebrations. But I wanted to start off by recognizing a group of men who decided to call Bluffton home this year, and that's Hilton Head Christian Academy, and they brought home another state title, which is very hard to do. I have my mom of a son who went and tried, and I know how difficult that is. So it says a lot for y'all's determination and your work on and off the field to win that. So we are tickled as we can be to celebrate y'all. Now you're in Bluffton. So we're going to start with Hilton Head Christian Academy. And who's here? Let me read. I think our star quarterback's here. Jace Blackshear. Is Jackson Lanier here? Come on up. Monica and Bobby Vickers. Are y'all here? Okay, you stay there. This is about them. David Mauser is good. You can stay there too, right? And your coach, Ron Paduzzi. Come up here. So, how many do y'all represent? How many are on your team? 40. So, if you're a parent of an athlete, you know they play everything. And I hear you have a game at Savannah Christian. So we just like celebrating y'all, and we'll get you out on your way. So I wanted to read just a few of these whereases. It's a proclamation for the Hilton Head Christian Academy SCISA Region 2A State Championship. Whereas the Hilton Head Christian Academy Eagles completed their first full season on the school's new campus in Bluffton with an undefeated record of 13-0, while exhibiting humble sportsmanship and the relentless pursuit of excellence both on and off the field. Where highlights leading up to the back-to-back state championship honor included playoff wins over Carolina Academy, 47-0. You didn't give them a chance. And PD Academy, which was on TV, which was awesome. I watched it. And whereas 2021 team leaders, which are seniors, earned the following top SCISA regional honors. Jace Blackshear was Player of the Year. Jackson Bulldog Lanier was Defensive Player of the Year. Joseph Speedy Robinson was Co-Offensive Player of the Year. And Riley Shin was the all-region first team. So I, Lisa Solka, Mayor of the town of Bluffton, along with these fine men and women on town council and the whole town, do hereby congratulate Hilton Head Christian Academy for displaying relentless teamwork and sportsmanship, all while earning SCISA Region 2A State Championship, dated December 14th. So congratulations. And this is just another one. Folder. And I also want to brag a little bit about your headmaster, right? Doug Langhouse. He was given the state's top leadership award at its annual headmasters conference in Orangeburg. That's a huge feat in private schools. So congratulations to him. And I know you from long ago. Congratulations. Thanks for taking the trip over here and taking care of these boys. And congratulations. We're very proud of you. Thank you. So. Thank you so much. Love having you.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Get behind? No? Okay. Hold that. Smile. Okay. Oh. It's not a football. You can pretend. It's like a Frisbee. So we love having y'all here. Anything we can do as a town to come and speak to y'all in leadership capacity, you just give us a call. We got a lot going on y'all can be part of.
Thank you very much.
I also want to talk a little bit it's not just Hilton Head Christian Academy who had major successes this year. We had, and if y'all are football moms, you understand the Shrine Bowl is one of the largest events in the state. And actually our neighbor across the bridge, one of their players won Mr. Football, which is huge for football and scholarships. But our very own DJ Aiken, whose mom works at Bluffton High School, is the defensive end. He was named to the Shrine Bowl, which was amazing for our area. And then what was formerly known as North-South Game is now Touchstone Energy Cooperative Bowl, and that was played this past weekend in Myrtle Beach. And we have someone that works for us, Angie Douglas, whose son was quarterback, and he joined May Rivers' Jayon Allen, and Coach Rodney Summers was on the coaching staff. I got to brag about volleyball because we also have Natalie's daughter who just signed at Flagler to play volleyball. So congratulations on that. All regions, 4A public high school. We had a lot of kids named to it. Coach Summers was the coach of the year. Garvin Douglas was quarterback. A lot of Hilton Head, Beaufort. Jalen Linder from Bluffton High, KJ Frazier, I saw his parents, and they might be outside with their daughter. He was named to the team. Trevor Murdaugh was named to the team. Justin Barrow and Jaquin Williams. That's huge. So these kids are going down a good leadership path, and I think they're good representatives of our town. So that was that, and I'm very proud of them. So let's give them all a big hand. Now, jump into, are they ready for the performance? Okay, so our men and women, they in blue just handled it perfectly. Thank you guys for helping us with the parade to keep us all safe. But we have 3 awards from 3 fine judges who all represented aspects of COVID. We had a fellow from the pharmacy, we had a nurse, and we had, who said?
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Three good representations of people who really are on the front lines during 2020. So best performance, are we doing that one first? And they're ready? Goes to Red Cedar Elementary School. Do y'all hear them? And that goes to May River High School Animal Welfare Club. Who's here from the Animal Welfare Club? Come up, let's get a picture. Students are rocking it this year. And y'all deserve it with what you, yeah, it's okay. They could really go down Calhoun Street and wake up everyone. How about that? Is that cool? So y'all got, oh, is this? Okay, who has that? There's Cheryl. Turn around. Y'all gather as close as you feel comfortable. Y'all can go out and start the parade with Thank you very much, and I love seeing y'all. I got back at the tail end to watch you all. That's awesome. That's it. That's how it's done. You don't have to stay for the whole thing. Finally, we have an award called the State of Mind, and that goes to Bluffton's JROTC. And I see some come. They're led by Commander Caitlin Sherman and Mr. Thomas Foster. So come forward. Thank y'all. Congratulations. How are you? You're drumming for y'all as well. Good. Congratulations. I hope you all enjoyed the parade. I think we had to switch it up a little bit, but I hope it was somewhat like it was. Kenneth, I didn't see you back there. We gave a shout out to your son to be on that region team. But if you have any ideas or suggestions on how to make it better, you can always let us know, and we'd love to take that under advisement. So, moving on. Okay, next we'll do the Beaufort County School District Character of the Month. This is, for those of you who are here who don't know about it, Beaufort County Schools breaks down their clusters, and our cluster is half the size of the entire school district. And every student in every grade has the ability to be recognized and put in a pool of the larger award, which is the Student of the Month. So anyone from kindergarten to 12th grade could go into this pile and be chosen. And this month, Grayson Mizell of Okatee Elementary School won the trait for courage and tolerance. As y'all know, Okatee is a blue ribbon school. She's had experienced some difficult life circumstances, but comes to school every day with a positive attitude and a can-do spirit. She befriends others and tries her best each and every day. She is the epitome of courage in the face of very trying times, and we probably could all learn from her. So Grayson will get a thank you, a certificate, and a coin, and we hope one day to have all of these kids be able to come here and really be recognized in the proper way. But congratulations to Grayson. And then we have Proclamation recognizing National Impaired Driving Prevention Month. This is done by a local group that's in all of our schools, public and private, called Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth. And I'm just going to read a little bit. They are not here to accept it, not because they don't want to. We're just trying to slowly get back into some state of attendance at our council meetings. But the gist is it is National Impaired Driving Prevention Month. Driving on our roadways can be dangerous, especially during the two most celebrated days of the year, and that's Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. December has been recognized as National Impaired Driving Prevention Month by every president since 1981. Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth and Teens for Healthy Youth are working to raise awareness on the dangers of impaired and distracted driving. The same also share our appreciation and support for the town of Bluffton's LUTC 43 campaign, which aims to prevent impaired and distracted driving. And I Along with Town Council, we'll proclaim December 2021 as National Impaired Driving Prevention Month in the town of Bluffton and urge all citizens to take an active fight against impaired and distracted driving during the holidays and throughout the coming year. A positive note, I sat with someone yesterday and they were talking, actually it was Easley, Stephen, that since Uber and Lyft have started, they have noticed a definite drop in DUIs and driving under the influence. So that's a positive. Hope it continues. Public comment. Is that everything, Kim? Did I do everything? Public comment. We have public comment once every meeting. We have rules that we do strongly have you abide by. You address council and you avoid disrespect to council and any other personalities in the room. You confine yourself to the questions under the jurisdiction of this council and just basically be mindful and respectful of those who are present. You notice we had a lot of young people here. We usually do. So it's just nice to be good role models for our students. So we have two, I think. First is Joseph O'Rourke. Joseph O'Rourke. You also can fill this out online, but to be in the record, you have to be here to read your public comment. I'll call him after I try the second one. Ansley Manuel. Good evening, Ansley. And as you come up, you know name and address, please. And you have 3 minutes.
Hello, Ansley Manuel, 104 Pritchard Street. Good evening, Mayor Sulka and council members. It is exhausting being a resident in the historic district of Bluffton, and our quality of life is suffering. We are being held hostage as a playground to the surrounding communities and tourists by being a constant source of entertainment through events and concerts, creating noise and traffic issues. It used to be simple, 2 big events a year, the Christmas parade in December and the Village Festival in May, then a third being the Arts and Seafood Festival, and October was added. There was no amplified music concert every week. There were no routine road closures. It is easy for outsiders to say that we residents should put up with the constant intrusion in our lives for the sake of the town's cool factor. But they do not live here, and they get to go back to their peaceful neighborhoods. I'm asking the town to tune and tone it down. Everyone deserves at least Sundays as a day of rest with peace and quiet. I have to wonder, are we the residents of the historic district the town's priority? There's something grossly wrong when the residents are not first in mind when making any decisions that affect our quality of life. I respectfully ask the town to tune and tone it down. Thank you.
Joseph O'Rourke. Okay. Public comment is over. We have communications from mayor and council. Look to the left. Anything on this end?
I just want to say our Christmas tree lighting gets larger every single year, and it's magical. And some of the events that took place with Santa at Dubose Park that evening, and the parade was excellent. I understand what she was speaking to a minute ago, but Cornerstone Church went over and did a beautiful job over there at Martin Family Park in Dubose this weekend. It was amazing what all they had there. And last, I want to just say that it's the time of the year. I mean, any time of the year is a good time to do this, but I just want to remind everybody to give and give generously and give to so many organizations that we have in our community here. I can't name them all, but you've got the Amy, Soup Food Kitchen, you've got Bluffton Self-Help, you got Bluffton Jasper Volunteers in Medicine, Calhoun Station, and many other organizations that do so much good work here. So I just encourage you to continue to support all of that. And Merry Christmas.
Anything, Fred, anything?
Yes, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and to piggyback a little bit on Dan. This is a time of year for us to kind of reflect on why we need to be good neighbors and why we need to love each other and why we need to be able to share our blessings that God has blessed us with others. So, Merry Christmas.
side?
Well, I gotta say Merry Christmas, and reminds me of a plaque that we have hanging in our house that says that if you have more than you need, don't build a higher fence, build a longer table. So if we all do
I just wanted to publicly thank all of town staff who were a part of another amazing Christmas parade this year. It's been nothing but rave reviews from the community for that and for everyone who participated and following suit. Definitely a Merry Christmas to everyone.
I don't think people realize that's a gift from us, and y'all do all the work. So please pass that along to all of your staffs. Stephen, I hope you enjoyed your first Christmas parade. And I hope you have many, many more to come. The poinsettias are from me, so just a little joy for y'all. And I wish the Ansley hadn't left, because the time to discuss all this is at strategic plan. So I'll make sure I reach out to her if there are issues that we all need to look at. We have eyes and ears of everyone on boots on the ground. Staff and council can't be everywhere to do everything. But I will make sure I relay that to her. She can bring that up at strategic plan, and we can discuss that. So anyway, have good holidays. Be safe. And like I tell my children, remember who you are when you go out. So, okay. We do have a workshop item, which is the access management plan from the county. So I'll just keep an eye on Jared.
He texted and said that he won't be here to apologize. He's going to follow up with Heather tomorrow to look at figuring that out. So he apologized.
Should we make a motion to remove that from the agenda, or what should we do?
Note that he was unable to be here, we're fine. If he wants to be on the next agenda, we can add him.
Great. So item 9, workshop agenda items, the presenter is not here, and we will make sure we get that scheduled at a later date. Okay, public hearings. We have a couple. We have consideration of an ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Article 2, Section 2.2, and then Article 3, Section 3.18 and 3.25. As well as Article 4, which is Section 4.2 and 4.4, Article 6, which is 6.3 and 9.2. This is public hearing and final reading. So let me do the public hearing first,
Yes, ma'am.
Kevin. There is a first call for comment on the public hearing of the item number 1 under Section 10. There's none. Let me go through it. Second call for public comment at the public hearing for item 1 under public hearing items. Third and final call for public comment for the item listed as number 1 under public hearing. Public hearing is closed.
Okay, Mayor and Council. So the presentation that I provided is the same presentation as you stated. This is a second and final reading. There's been no changes to that. I'm happy to go back through the presentation if you'd like to, or we can just go ahead and move forward to the motion. And I do have all 3 of the motions on this one slide for items 1, 2, and 3.
Do y'all need any other information? There were no changes requested from the first reading. Okay. So thank you. So we'll do this one and move on. Is there a motion to approve the amendments to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Unified Development Ordinance, Article 2, Section 2.2, which is contents, Article 3, Section 3.8, application process, Article 4, Section 4.2 and 4.4, and those are zoning districts, and Article 6 and Article 9, Section 9.2. Your motion.
If you were finishing that.
Oh, I know, I didn't. As related to certain historic preservation terms and definitions. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? This was a lot of hard work put into this, so thank all of you. Any other discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Item number 2 is also a public hearing. We didn't have any comment on this either, but I'll just make a first, second, and third call. There's a first call for a public comment on the ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Article 3, Section 326. Second call for public comment. Third call for public comment. Public comment is over. Kevin?
No changes from the first reading, and I have the motion up here for you as well.
Right, there were no changes. Are you all satisfied? Do you want to look at it again? Okay. Is there a motion to approve amendments to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Unified Development Ordinance, Table of Contents, Article 3, Application Process, Section 3.25, Designation of Contributing Structures?
Second.
Did we just do the third one? No, that's the second. Okay. Is there any discussion? All in favor state, let me back up. So this says 3.25, but the number 2 says 3.26.
I apologize, it is a typo, it's 3.26. It is 3.26.
Can we? In the motion? In
Yes,
the motion?
the motion, as put up here, it's incorrect, it is 3.26.
Make sure that's
Yeah.
recorded, okay. Any other discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And then the third public hearing item is consideration of an ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Article 3, to amend Section 3.25, Designation of Contributing Structures. And is there public comment on that, Kim? So first call for public comment on this item. Second call for public comment on this item. Third and final call for public comment on this item. The public hearing is closed. And
Yeah, they just got
that's what
they
I
just got
wondered, if the
flipped.
motions were
Yeah,
flipped.
they got flipped.
Okay, I'll read it.
Okay.
I'll read it right. Does anyone need to see any more information on this? Is there a motion to approve the amendments to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Unified Development Ordinance, Table of Contents, and Article 3 Application Process to establish Section 3.25, Proactive Preservation and Maintenance of Contributing Structures? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Kevin, you stand up. Formal agenda items. We have the consideration of an ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton's General Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, taxation to establish Article 5, Special Property Tax Assessment for rehabilitated contributing structures in Old Town Bluffton Historic District. This is the second and final reading. Were there changes from one to the next?
No, ma'am, there's been no changes, and this does not require a public hearing since this is in the Code of Ordinances. So there are no changes, and I do have the motion up here for you as well.
Y'all need any more
Unless you need-
information or anything on this? Is there a motion to approve the proposed amendment to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, to establish Article 5, which is Special Property Tax Assessment for rehabilitated historic properties? There's a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Next is our A-tax. Natalie. This is consideration of accommodations tax advisory committee funding recommendations for quarter ending September 30th, 2021.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. The Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee met on October 16th to review 4 applications for quarter ending September 30th, 2021. The total request of the 4 organizations comes to $80,136. The first is the annual request of the farmers market. They are requesting $37,900 for advertising and facilities expenses for the weekly markets that are held on Thursdays. The second is the Hilton Head Symphony Orchestra, who has requested $5,000 for the concert that was held after Thanksgiving on November 27th at St. Gregory's Parish Life Center. And the $5,000 is requested for advertising. The third request is for May River Theater for the 2022 production and advertising expenses. The organization has requested $11,481. ATAC has recommended to have that fully funded, but they have requested that the organization come back at the next quarter for additional advertising expenses for their review and consideration for this coming quarter ending at the end of December. And then finally is a request from the South Carolina Lowcountry Tourism Commission. They have requested $25,755 for promotion of the town of Bluffton and the Lowcountry. ATAC has recommended that the organizations be fully funded. There is currently over $2 million available for distribution between state and local ATAC funds. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may
Is
have.
anyone here from the
No, unfortunately.
grid?
I do my best to answer any questions.
So let's go through item by item, and then we can do it. Would that be good? Farmers Market of Bluffton. Does anyone have questions on that request?
I do.
Yes, sir.
What was their request, the farmer's market? How are they using these funds?
So the majority of it is for advertising. We have $28,000 for advertising for them, and then the remaining is for facilities expenses. So it's items to provide for the tourists. So like safety mats to cover the electrical cords, tents, anything that would help the welfare of any tourists coming to visit the market.
What's the percentage for advertising?
Out of that, just over 25% out of their total budget.
Why would they need to advertise the farmer's market? Why would we award that at this time? It's going on for 100 years.
I don't want to speak for Kim. I do know that they have won pretty significant awards recently, but again, I don't want to speak on her behalf. I'm happy to take any questions back to her.
Is this unusual? Is this not part of their annual request?
It is.
And I don't mind chiming in, I don't know if it's appropriate, as a former member of ATAC, to answer some of what Fred's question was. Well, for their advertising, they do get more points or incentives in terms of like if they go larger with their marketing. So to advertise in places like Southern Living and Garden and Gun, things like that, it does get expensive. But I know with the farmers market, during the summer, their advertising reach is pretty vast. They have a bus that comes from Myrtle Beach sometimes just to be able to shop at the market. And so that expansion has, I know, helped them a lot, but it's also grown the market itself as a lot of people have, gotten buzz or wanting to attend because it's become such a widespread market, and that advertising reach going broader than just advertising here locally has allowed them to be able to do that.
Yeah, I've always totally supported the farmer's market and its mission and all that, but one thing that caught my eye, and I thought I'd asked this question before, maybe I just don't remember the answer. In that 9,900, part of it is for rental from the Hayward House. I need to be clarified on that. I couldn't remember.
That's okay. So the rent is around, it is $100 per market. And
What?
It's $100 per market that they rent the common grounds from the Hayward House. And it's, part of it was due to COVID, just so that there's greater separation with the attendees. But they also have music there at the little, the pavilion. And so it's just extra space for them to use that they do rent from the Hayward House.
Yeah, in the packet, it says they hit #1 farmers market in the South Carolina and #4 in the Southeast, and best at Bluffton. And so they're bringing some value to the community, and I think they have done that for a while. The only question I have is, it's a curiosity type thing, but when you look at the request, and when you look at the advisory committee recommendations, and then you look at the expended dollars, actual expended dollars are always less. Why would that be?
We are reimbursement based,
Right.
and so we don't fully fund right up front. We ensure that the requirement for the Bluffton logo is included in all of their advertising. And so while this is the budget, we do, it is a reimbursement based grant or award.
So they may not spend everything that,
Right. Yep.
not beating up on them, but I do have a question because I have a little concern. Part of that was for a trailer, for an advertising trailer. I guess I'm concerned, is it appropriate to have a trailer parked on private property? Isn't that a billboard? I mean, is that, I mean, it's in the body of the request, so if we approve this, is it contingent upon that being allowed, or are we saying, oh, you're allowed to do it because we voted by this?
So I am in communication with Kim. While whatever funding is awarded this evening, it doesn't mean, we have to abide by what state law has, and so that's what we will always do.
You're not sure that that is...
Now, I know that there was discussion on where the trailer may be parked, and we have reached out to Kim and communicated that with her. Now, if she does want to purchase a trailer, absolutely the wrap, because it is advertising, could qualify as an expense.
I just don't want to set a precedent of mobile billboards parking in our parking spots. I mean, I don't know if we have something in there to, because when one does it, the other one's going to get another idea. So I just want to make sure we're prepared. That can't happen.
Right.
I think that's a great point. I don't know, maybe town manager Terry, I don't know what the ordinances say regarding that, but your point's well made.
Well, I've sent complaints about boats and cars for sale on state spots, and I'm told that we can't do anything about it. I don't know. New eyes, maybe we can. So something to think about, Stephen. So the first one is Farmers Market of Bluffton. Amount requested $37,900. Amount recommended $37,900. Is there a motion to accept that?
So
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed. Next is Hilton Head Symphony Orchestra Holiday Pops. I have heard nothing but positive comments from the one in the park, so I hope they come back. Amount requested $5,000. Amount recommended $5,000. Are there any questions on this item? Motion to accept that recommendation. Second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Next is May River Theater Company. Amount recommended $11,481. Requested, and amount recommended was $11,481. Do we have any questions on that?
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
Do we always pay for production costs?
So the theory behind it is you need to purchase the production costs in order to hold the actual production itself. So you can't have one without the other. So in the past, yes, that has qualified as an expenditure.
We haven't had this in a while, so I'm going to jump on from Farmers Market, but they're required to put our logo and everything on their advertising.
Yes, that's actually the front page of our tax application, so.
I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Any other questions on this? Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of $11,481 to the May River Theater Company, Inc.?
Second.
All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Finally, the South Carolina Low Country Tourism Commission, amount requested $25,755, amount recommended $25,755. Are there questions on
Curious, you had a split vote on that one? It wasn't the whole group wasn't there, but it went 3-2. And I'm not sure they had discussion, is what I understood, and they went through with the vote anyway.
There was discussion,
Okay.
Yes.
What was the problem with the two dissenters?
There was a lot of discussion on the budget that was presented, and Peach actually came and presented and gave a presentation of what their advertising would look like. There were some concerns on what enhanced value may come with the grant, and that could have led to the two dissents for the vote.
They worked with our DMO, from what I read, I guess.
I believe that she does, yes, communicate with Ariana.
I don't know that I don't know how to interpret what they've already or not. I don't know that they've really done much for Bluffton at this point. I'm not criticizing them, but they're asking for money to promote Bluffton. But up to this point, I don't think they have. Please.
Historic behind it. I was surprised to see it because they've not made a request for years.
Yes.
I mean, I go back to a totally different council. The issue that council had several years ago was the advertising in their book was incorrect. They didn't, I mean, I think Mr. Huffman was on council and they didn't even have Bluffton barbecue in it. You know, so I'm.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that? I'm very curious what this goes to, if it's going to be in that book. I guess we can't really, I hope that's no one's car. All parked back there, so. Oh, it stopped. So either someone broke in or someone didn't. But I'm a little hesitant because I think they just got so upset they stopped coming back. So I'm a little concerned over what's going to be in that book, and that's why. So they just stopped coming before us. Question, you remember that? Anything else on this one?
No, Dan answered or asked what I was going to ask.
Okay, so there's a request in a recommended amount. Are there any other questions? Is there a motion to accept this request?
Oh,
Roll it up.
I'm sorry.
Oh, is that the total? Oh, okay.
That is the amount that they asked for?
The 25,755, yes, yes. We were one of 9 municipalities that have been requested for funds.
Second? Any discussion? I'm hesitant to vote for it because it's so far away and we have a DMO. I don't like just giving money because we've got it. I'll follow council on this. I just think we've got to be very careful about if it's going in that book. We just need a return of investment on this. It's my suggestion.
Well, I would think that would be
Well, because it's a reimbursable fund,
Right, if it's not in there,
they
we
don't
don't have to give it
adhere
to
to
them.
whatever was stipulated in that, they would not receive those funds, correct?
Not
Correct.
really.
So, and then also there is the logo requirement.
Yeah, because our logo requirement wasn't on this when they were here in the past, so, okay.
May I jump in? I would encourage them to come back to meet at some point in the future yourself and get them to tell us what it is they think they're going to do for us. I mean, I guess that's where the clarity's missing for me and probably everybody sitting up here is you read it, but you don't know what it is exactly. And so show us some ideas of what you're going to do.
Wouldn't that have been explained in the application?
Yes. And again, Peach did have a presentation to the committee.
Well, it's kind of a good faith. If let's see, coming back the second time after they've been missing for several years, I'm guessing at least 6.
Long time, yeah.
It's got to look
Yeah,
good because I'm
looks
not
like
against
2015.
not doing this again, and I don't want to embarrass her in any way, but they got to step up their game. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Natalie. You did
Thank
a
you.
great job with this. And do you have openings on ATAX?
We do.
I'm
I wasn't
just
sure if I'd get a
speaking to the
shout out,
crowd
but yes,
who's
we
here.
are taking applications. And thank you very much for the
Oh, for
recognition for Marissa.
Well,
Yes.
Marissa did great.
Thank you.
I was quite impressed by how high she jumps. She jumps above the net. So we need to follow her and Angie's son. It's kind of cool having our family have kids that are excelling in their sport or off the field as well. But You tell her we're proud of her. Next is item number 3 under formal agenda items, consideration of an ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, street sidewalks and other property to include provisions to address locations and requirements for special events. This is first reading because I think we had some questions when you brought it back before. Heather,
Yes.
good evening.
Evening. Yes, last month I was before you to present the proposed amendments to the special events ordinance, and council had some questions that you asked me to go back and address and incorporate in the proposed amendments. And the 3 specific ones that we have, and I'll go through the presentation in a moment, is that events at private residential properties, for example, family reunion, birthday party, make sure that that was clear that that was excluded and would not be required to get a special event permit. Also, events and gatherings at town facilities where there was no intention to have a reservation for that space, but more like it could be an impromptu party, just a party where you don't need to reserve it, to make sure that was excluded as well. And then to also consider a threshold of anticipated participants and attendees. So that's been incorporated. And staff did work with Terry Finger on his notes and make sure that's all included. Again, this just summarizes that request. Like I said, what we refer to as the special events ordinance.
Woman Fraser was not here that night. So are you going to go through it? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought you were. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You're going to go through it because we weren't all here.
The, just to summarize, the current regulations for special events are specific only to events on town-owned properties. So only town-owned properties. So if it's privately owned properties, the special events ordinance does not apply. So the intention of staff moving forward with this was just to make sure that the sponsor of the event is well aware and informed of all of the other associated town ordinances, whether it's related to noise, traffic, building permits, business license, and things like that. So to be educational, because if it was on private property, they may never come to us to get that information. And then just to get, again, that information out so that there's things that would add to that. You can see the word private there for street and private property. But this is the list of what is a special event. So what are we required to come to town for a permit? Again, this goes through and says what the permit as far as when it's required. So again, we added in 100 people. So again, this is anticipated, 100 people and public or private property, and just what that list of special events is. So the exceptions. The intention with the ordinance and the regulations is not to prohibit special events. It is simply to, again, make sure that it is safe and that everyone's aware of where can we park, is there bathrooms, litter, again, do we need a business license, things like that. The first 2 exceptions are already in the ordinance, funeral processions and parades. And then you'll see that list. The intent, again, is not for a school to have to come to the town every time they have a football game or a fair or a carnival. The site's already designed to accommodate those type uses. And this is where I included those 3 things we talked about earlier as far as the personal residence or facility, for example, a homeowners association. It's a clubhouse, there's already parking in place and facilities to accommodate that. And again, number 7 there you will see, we can't anticipate all events or what they all may be, so there is a possibility for the town manager to waive the permit for special circumstances. So other things that we just wanted to make sure that were included in the ordinance were just things, again, that are included in other municipal codes and sections of our ordinance, but just to get it all in one spot. So addresses things such as the security and safety, traffic circulation and parking, toilet facilities, solid waste disposal, electrical hookups, and again, that authority to waive and other exemptions. I won't read through all of this, but again, this is just meant to cover that. This does provide for some thresholds as far as when you need to include additional security personnel and things like that. And again, we don't know, it's not necessarily one size fits all, so once they apply for that permit, Then once it's reviewed by the police department, the town manager, it may be adjusted. And the same with traffic. This also includes things like parking and as far as where you can park on those roads and the shoulders. And again, it is to make sure that everyone is safe and the traffic can circulate accordingly. Same for restrooms. Again, put a number for a threshold, and if that doesn't work, then we can adjust based on the event. With solid waste and removal of that solid waste within 24 hours after the event. Then electrical hookups. Regardless of whether it's a temporary event or a permanent, you still are required to comply with all building codes and safety requirements. So again, just to educate and inform that the appropriate building permits will be required. This is just that first page of our application. Our application is already very, very encompassing, as I'm sure you all know. So it already would accommodate any changes if this is approved this evening. So tonight, this is first reading. You can approve the amendments as submitted, approve with changes or modifications, or deny them, or if you have more information or things you would like us to consider, we're happy to do so. It is 2 readings. There is no public hearing required.
I'd like you to make one change.
Yes, sir.
Add equals field in their language.
And I will say that over this past year, at least when we were thinking through, there are 2 events and locations. Eagles Field would be one that would be, if it met all those thresholds, and then also events like in the promenade park space. So that's another private area that, may have had events over this past year.
Bluffton Village.
Bluffton Village, yes, Bluffton Village. There's some commercial space where in front on the Bluffton Parkway it's possible to have events and things like that. But again, this is just meant to educate and inform and make sure it's safe.
Questions or changes for Heather? Any discussion? Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the proposed amendment to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Property, Article 4, Special Events Ordinance to include provisions to address locations and requirements for special events?
I make that motion.
Song. Emotion. Is there a second?
I'll second that
emotion. I knew that was a song. Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Good job, Heather.
Really good job. Thanks for taking our comments and redoing it. Item number 4, consideration of an ordinance to approve the annexation of certain real property owned by the Town of Bluffton consisting of approximately 9.27 acres, more or less, located at 115 Bluffton Road, and is identified by the tax number written on the agenda. This is first reading of 2 and a public hearing, right? This would be a public hearing.
Yes, ma'am. And just so you're aware, the presentation is for both items, for both item number 4 and number 5. So it's both the annexation and then the zoning designation of the property.
So the presentation is item 4 and 5, but we vote separately.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
That is correct.
also will be for the, to approve the Town of Bluffton zoning map to incorporate and designate certain real property owned by the Town of Bluffton. Okay. That's your normal.
I do have 2 motions at the end for you, okay? Great. So as you stated, we're here this evening for the first reading of the ordinance for that annexation and designation to the general mixed use of the 9.27 acres property that the town owns at 115 Bluffton Road. Just to let you know, this did go in front of the Planning Commission at their November 10th meeting, where there was a vote for 4-1 for the annexation, and then a vote of 3-2 to approve the zoning amendment request as submitted. Just some background information. April 13th, Town Council, you provided the direction for town staff to move forward with this process. On June 29th in 2021 is when we updated the annexation policy to make sure that we actually had that intent to annex, and we brought this item in front of you at that point, which you told us to move forward with it. Pursuant to both of those items, we've been moving forward with bringing this under the general mixed use designation, the zoning classification under that the Unified Development Ordinance. So this was in July 18th. You accepted it and decided not to move forward with the negotiating committee. The 25th, Planning Commission held a workshop to discuss the request. The November 10th meeting is where they held the public hearing for both the annexation and the zoning map amendment. Here's an aerial map of the property, just to kind of get your reference. You can see the traffic circle to the north. That's the Bluffton Parkway, and then the road to the west is Bluffton Road. Again, a little bit further out from an aerial standpoint, obviously this property is contiguous with the town, which is one of the reasons why we're annexing it in. The current zoning is under Beaufort County, which has the front portion of it in that T4 hamlet, and the rear portion is the T3. These are the adjacent property owners. I'm not going to read every one of them, but just to let you know that all that information is located there. This is the current zoning through Beaufort County, which has a multitude of uses, residential, retail uses, office and services. This is the proposed zoning district, so this is all of the uses that are currently under that table that we have in our Unified Development Ordinance. P means it's permitted by right. C means it's conditional. If there's an SE, that means it's a special exemption, which is required approval through the Board of Zoning Appeals. Just some cost-benefit analysis information. And this was all in your packet that was provided to you, just as a proposed build-out, proposed taxes, and then proposed estimated revenue after the expenses of that proposed build-out, and that would be at 60 single-family detached homes. So again, we have two requests. So the first one is for the annexation request. There are approximately 14 various review criteria. I'm happy to pull up the report and we can go through any one of them if you wish, but everything is consistent on here. So there was 8 through 14 there. From the future annexation area, again, you can see that this is within the boundaries that we have established. This is the future land use that does propose that as that mixed use type of classification. From the growth framework map, you can see that the property is located within that village place type. So it's consistent for development in that area. And then the second item is the zoning map amendment request. And that has the 6 review criteria, which I'm happy to go through in case you have any questions about it, but it is consistent with all of them. So this evening we're here for the first reading. What we'll be doing is, if you so choose and move forward with this, we'll bring this back in February for the second and final reading. What that does is that gives us an opportunity to do the necessary mailing notifications. So that's why we want to make sure that we have ample time to get that, have individuals to have an opportunity to contact us, and then that gives us plenty of time to get it in front of you at that February meeting. So again, just the recommendations from the Planning Commission that they had provided. Your actions this evening, you can approve with conditions or to deny. And then I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
No vote. Can you why did?
One of the concerns was that one of the planning commissioners felt that that the extension of this of the municipal boundaries actually created an enclave. They felt that, in essence, was the start of creating a donut hole, is what one of their concerns. There was also, for the zoning portion of it, their concerns was the proximity to the traffic circle. They felt that any type of development there would potentially have issues with traffic issues.
I have an odd question. Only the one of your attachments showed the aerial with the 2 green boundaries. This one. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Why does it look like that?
Right.
There is a South Carolina DOT portion that was purchased, right-of-way that was purchased for, I believe, storm drains, and it bisected that property. And when they did that, it, in essence, split the property.
That annexed in as well? Or is
That's-
the easement
that's-
outside of the town limits?
That's
now?
right-of-way, and it's,
Should be, yes, we can annex it.
okay.
Make that map more inclusive then.
Just cover the whole thing? Okay, we'll make sure to do that.
So do we need to make that in the motion or just have you do it before second reading?
It's one parcel, not two.
Okay,
Yeah.
from east to west. Okay, okay. Any other questions? Motion? Yes?
So there are two
There are
motions.
two
So
motions.
the
So the first-
annexation.
Gotcha. So on item number 4, is there a motion to approve the annexation properly of the entire parcel of 9.27 acres, including the right-of-way? Correct. Owned, town-owned property located at 115 Bluffton Road and identified by Bluffton County Tax Map Number 601-039-30005040 via the 100% petition and ordinance method in the town of Bluffton corporate limits.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. On item number 5, which is the zoning map, is there a motion to approve an amendment to the town of Bluffton zoning map to incorporate and designate real property owned by the town of Bluffton consisting of approximately 9.27 acres located at 115 Bluffton Road and is identified by the county tax map number as listed on the agenda as general mixed-use zoning? Discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Kevin, thank you very much. You're still up. Number 6, under formal items, amendments to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Article 5, Design Standards, Section 515, and Article 9, which are definitions related to signage. First reading.
Ma'am, okay. So this evening we're here, and I'm going to keep this more of a high level, not to get necessarily into the specifics of all of the proposed changes. But as you remember, we came in front of you back in August with some various code changes, specifically dealing with signage. Some of the things that, like with any ordinance, there's no such thing as a perfect ordinance. What happened was there was when we made one of the corrections, we inadvertently left out a sign type, which has caused some issues making sure that we're being able to regulate specific signages. While we were in there, we wanted to clarify some additional items related to dimension requirements for signs, as opposed to saying a certain height and a certain width that would be allowed. We gave the overall square footage. What that does is it gives flexibility for individuals to be able to shape the signs as they so choose. So we have sign regulations in Section 513, and that deals with outside of the historic district. That's regulated by the Unified Development Ordinance. So again, just remember that 92% of the town is within a planned unit development, has its own sign regulations. So this is focused more on that 8%. So Section 515 does deal with the historic district and then some definitions and terms. So some of it was clarifying that that exempt suspended signs are smaller than permanent building suspended signs as proposed in the building types. So we do have some examples here where we wanted to make sure that we were clarifying what they are referring to. The exempt ones are the ones that kind of run perpendicular from a building wall as opposed to parallel with a building wall. I see your faces. I understand you're questioning. It's, you know, when you get down into the weeds of sign permits, this is items that do come up.
So we need to trust you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes. Other items included clarifying the height requirement to make sure people don't put signs that people are going to knock their heads against. So you have to make sure that those are addressed. And then also the various changes to the permanent building sides, which was adding the suspended signs from the building removing those dimensional standards that we talked about, and then the canopy signage. One of the items, again, this is for 513, so this is outside of the historic district. And what we're looking to do is to add non-digital electronic scroll signs. Now, what that means is that if you're driving down the road, you see a sign for a gas station, and it's a digital, meaning that's the electronic, like the LED lighting type signs. That's still not allowed. What this is literally a mechanical scroll inside, and it gives the opportunity for the attendant or whatever home office can change gas prices as necessary, as opposed to having someone to physically come out, remove the numbers, and then change them out. So what this does is it'll actually allow them to have the numbering on their signs where it's a little mechanical wheel inside that rolls the numbers around to the appropriate number. It's not electrical in the sense of like an LED light, but it's electrical in the sense of that it automatically moves that.
Prices appear to be rather dated.
I like the prices. Yeah, I was thinking that.
Kevin, I don't understand why that, if it's not LED, then why we have to make a decision?
Because it's currently not allowed. The way that we have it set up is it's a hand change only. Yes, so means physically that the attendant has to go out, and their plastic lettering that they have to go out and in essence use a suction cup to get them and pull them off. And then
Those days are gone.
Yes. What this does is it doesn't allow for those LED type of lights that we're still against, but it does allow for the flexibility for any type of signs to be able to still mechanically change them without having someone to physically go out there because, I hate to say it, but gas prices change sometimes hourly, and it's difficult for them to do that. Again, this is outside of the historic district.
How about inside the historic district?
Well, that is back to the manual. They will have to do that.
Why? I mean,
It's from the historical standpoint. We're trying to, prevent allowing for the LED lighting in the historic district for the signs. And then, if this is something that you wish to look to allow for the historic district, we can do that.
well, this is not going to be LED lit anyway.
No.
So
And we're trying to.
it's still the same thing, basically. It's going to say 233.9.
Yeah. Well,
Whether
also
you put it
the
on by
size.
hand or whether you got the.
Yeah, and the size of signs that are allowed. So, and we're going to. You only have your freestanding signs are actually very small in the historic district. So it is not as a sign like this is a large sign that is kind of put up a little bit bigger,
Faster.
larger. Yes.
Sounds like we should look at it and narrow the sign limit, and then maybe not in this particular
Okay.
thing. I mean, I don't know, I heard you, why
and
not?
that's-
If nobody's doing it anymore, but it's the option.
Yeah, the other's ancient out there. It's ancient in town too.
Do you think it
nobody's-
needs to be
But
at
that's
least
what happens when
an
you get into the
option?
historic district.
Even if
they have the
technology
different
catches up, it may
provisions.
be allowed whenever technology allows it to fit within the
Right.
size.
Scales.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Keep the
that.
scale the same, but allow the option.
Yes.
If it works.
Technology is providing that ability.
Whether they change it by hand or by a tumbler, to me is no different. Still going to say the
control.
same thing. Still going to look the
His-
same.
Okay.
His concern was, do we want then to have huge signs in an area
No.
where you're driving slower?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
consider-
Still meet the size requirements, but allow the option if it fits.
What we need to change is that they can't go up in price.
I wish we could mandate that.
The bigger the sign, the lower the price.
We still control the lighting issue, so.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We'll definitely work on that one for second reading. Some of the other things was the reverse channel lighting. So as approved, only external lighting signs are permitted. We're also looking to allow for the reverse channel or the halo lighting. That's where you have internal lit signs where you have like a cabinet and then like plexiglass on the outside, and then the light source is behind it. What this does, it kind of cuts out the letters and then makes the solid letters, and then you can have a light source behind it, but it doesn't protrude out through the letters. So a great example is up on 278 Sheridan Park. There's a lot of the businesses up there that have that halo lighting. So that, then the other sign types, the amendment returns the ability to provide those other sign types not specifically provided, that it do not exceed 5 square feet. Sometimes we have signs that are coming in that if it doesn't fit a type, then we still allow for it to happen. It just can only be 5 square feet. And that's,
Would you say
that's a great example, yes.
How could you put 3 gas prices on 5 square feet?
Now, it's not for the,
Oh, I see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right, it's just,
Right.
doesn't glare,
So
it doesn't
low-
jump at you,
low
but you can
light.
still see it at night. So 5 square feet,
Well, again,
you sell diesel, regular, and
this isn't for the
you
gas.
don't necessarily can put 3 gas prices on there. So you're still, in the historic district, you only have a limited amount of square footage. So, you have to really consider what's the most important part that you have.
aren't you going through that right now?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. So then the other items was we talked about, so the changeable copy. So this would allow for a manually changed copy of schools, religious institutions, and the public agencies and fuel stations. And then the suspended sign was also added to the building type. So again, still in the historic district, one of the things that we're looking to do is to add the suspended signs to that permitted building types, permitted building sign types. Remove some of those dimensional standards. What we talked about is instead of saying you're allowed a 5x2 sign, you're allowed X square footage, and however you configure it is how you do it. And then clarify how canopy signs can be placed below the canopy, and then other minor formatting issues. And specifically dealing with those auto-oriented canopies. So what this does is it also allows for signage on the canopy for over gas pumps. Now, what it would mean is that, as it states, such as fuel station canopy, to be no more than 30% of the canopy or 20 square feet, which is greater. So your allowed wall signage in the historic district, that square footage, you can use what's allowed on there towards your canopy sign. Okay, but then that means that you have a smaller wall sign. So your overall allowed wall signage square footage, you can either have it all on your wall of your building, or you can pull some of that off and then put it on your canopy. But then that means that your sign on your wall is smaller. It's giving more flexibility to allow someone to be able to put the sign on there. You're not getting more signage than anyone else. You're still having the overall same amount of square footage. It's just how you decide to use it. So if you have a canopy over your gas station, you could have nothing on there if you wanted to. Or you could have a small sign and then a small sign on your wall. So what this does is this gives that flexibility. Prime example right now is we have one that's going through where we don't allow for signage on the canopies. And they are not allowed to move forward with a sign permit because we can't approve it. We just can't approve any type of signs on that canopy. This does allow for that, but it doesn't give them any additional signage beyond what anyone else is allowed.
The problem that particular place and the way the world's changed, you're not going to get Chevron or Shell or anybody else to sell you gasoline without their name on there. You know what I mean? It's really changed from the good old days where you just order a tanker full of gas. You have to basically be a part
Follow their rules.
of, which this store up here is going to be Texaco. They have a lot of, hurdles to jump through, plus hours. So when you were saying the 20 square feet on the canopy and the wall, that has nothing to do with the 5 square foot of freestanding sign though, right?
That's different. Yes.
This isn't just for gas stations. Have y'all been careful about seeing how it can affect other buildings?
So that's where the provision, what we were referring to, is that when we refer to canopy signs, we mean like, it's almost like any type of awning or anything that's protruding out from the building that you could allow for that signage.
Well, I mean, I go kind of, I'll call them out, Corner Perk. Had put, written what they sell on their canopy, and I remember at the time that was wrong, they had to take it off. So now will it be allowed?
So the way that we're saying,
Yeah, I mean, but
yeah, so it's the way it's written is that it says 1 square foot for each linear foot of building wall, not to exceed 40 square feet. So obviously, the width of your building is what you're allowed.
you said 40, but your
Well,
slide says 20.
That's for what this 20 right here is for the canopy on the, like for a gas station. No more than 20 square feet could be used towards that canopy. Again, it's getting back to like, if your building is 40 feet wide, that means you're allowed 40 square feet of signage for your wall. You can take up to 20 square feet of that to put on the canopy, but that means you only get 20 square feet over here.
I got you. For anything. We're not doing
Yeah.
this just for a building. It
Yeah.
could cover anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
I understand that.
Okay. And then we also had just an update to the projection sign, just referring to it as being perpendicular to the building wall. The review criteria, I'm happy to go through them. You can see them up on your screen there, but they meet all the review criteria for a text amendment. And then they had a planning commission. They did recommend approval. They just asked staff to make sure to clarify between sign face and sign area. And just so you know, with a projection sign, that's like a two-sided sign. So a projection sign is, if your wall is parallel with the road and you have a sign that's perpendicular, so it sticks out from your building, you'll have a sign on one side and then a sign on the other side. So the sign face is just like one side. The sign area is both sides. So that was one of the questions that they'd had, and we made sure to clarify that.
So now I'm just as muddied again.
Yeah.
So where does the rule come in? Do you get your square footage on?
So a sign
How do you
area.
get half and half?
Yeah, so sign area, so if a maximum of, let's say, and I think we have it in here, it's a maximum area of 10 square feet. So that means you get 5 square feet on this side, 5 square feet on this side. So when it's referring to sign
Or 10
area,
up
yeah.
against it one way.
Because, I mean, someone could potentially have, one brand on one side and another brand on the other side. A great example is actually the Simpson Construction. I don't know if you've noticed that, but their sign has his construction company on one side, and then it's like the Home Help or something like that on the other side. So it's 2 different graphics on the same side. So you don't necessarily have the same graphics on both sides. Yes.
Signage.
And that's why you have staff that's reviewing the sign
sign
permits.
person? Who
So,
does all this?
we have 2 individuals, 2 staff members
you
for
need to.
historic district and non-historic district, so. Yes. So again, you have the actions this evening is to approve with conditions, or to deny. And then this is the first reading. We will bring this back to you in January with a second reading. I do have the note here that will make sure to focus on, and we'll do some more research on the freestanding signs about the electric scroll in the historic district as well. So we'll work on getting that information together. We'll talk with the town manager, so if you guys have any questions, you can work through him, and then we'll make sure to bring that back at second reading.
Questions?
Just to clarify something, since we already have someone that's waiting on a sign, that, is there anything we can do to help them instead of waiting on another month? I mean, if this is what we're going to do, unless there's opposition to
Did we do
this.
pending doctrine on this? It's an ordinance? A month.
I will say that I'm sorry to interrupt, but.
Is there a temp sign permit that could be issued? Temporary?
No, because he's looking for, it's for permanent signage. The item that we're referring to is not related to the condition that they're looking to change. It's
What
not.
item are we looking, are the safe area and,
No,
did we ask for any changes from what?
you were looking for additional information to allow the scroll in the historic district.
Part of the same vote.
Yeah,
That was the only change.
So
but this,
it's all part of the same vote. But anyway. I
Well, you
think-
brought up the changing it in Old Town to the scroll. Are
I
you
just thought
really
that made
going to
sense.
fall on that sword?
So do we want to just wait and bring that back? Or,
and
I
what we
mean,
can do is we're looking to do an annual update, and we can add that as one of those items for in the future. We don't have any pending requests for that at this time, so we're happy to make note of that and then make sure to bring it back with a future amendment.
Here's what our new law is, so any applications after that point are subject to it despite the fact it hasn't had second reading yet.
Can't this wait 30 days, Larry? I mean,
well, I mean, I'm not saying it can't, but the man's already been trying to get his stuff in order for quite a while, and he's reached out to me.
Well, he's had
And I've-
quite a while to bring this forward. I didn't know about it till I
Well,
got the
it-
agenda.
Well, it was kind of said to him, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, that this was in the makings, because our rules at the present time were kind of vague on the sign he had there 2 years ago. Somebody permitted it, I guess, or either not, because there's been a gas station there as long as I've been around. You know, there's always been a station there.
Well, it's probably non-conforming, but we're doing the best we can do. Rather than call a meeting and do it again, I think we should stay on track.
Realistically, how long does it
Hey.
take? So
31 days?
So we can do everything that we can between now and January 11th, so that when council approves it January 11th, January 12th, he can pull his permit that day and be ready to go. And have everything ready to go.
Yeah, and really, it's only for one of the signs, so we can make sure to work with them. They have a freestanding sign that is in compliance, so we're just working on making sure that they're showing proper placement of it. They have a wall sign that can be approved. It's just the canopy sign is the only item, so we can get everything else in line with them, but minus the one canopy
But the
sign.
canopy already has Texaco.
Shouldn't.
It doesn't.
Came on the,
It wasn't on there today, it's just red.
Texcon or something.
Can he put this sign up
Maybe
and
not.
put a paper or something over it to cover it? It doesn't matter. He can go on hopefully ordering it, understanding we're most likely going to pass this at second reading and get it ordered, and the day after we vote on January 12th, he can put it up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
so the question back to the scrolling again?
Yes.
Will that end up at second reading, or it will not end up in the second reading?
But it could
You're-
now if we're not
you're-
going to.
Yeah.
You're choosing, I mean.
Well,
you
that's,
know,
then let's move forward, I would think. That solves that.
okay. We can do that.
What would that motion say to include that note that we gave you? I liked what Stephen said, but he didn't write it down for me.
Let's see here, windows, canopies. Yeah, 515-6Q, and then what we can do is we will make sure to add it in that section.
You'll add it.
Yeah.
We don't have to put it in a motion.
As long, yeah, if
That's
you
where
put
I'm going.
515-6Q, and then we can make sure to get the appropriate
To
additional
include
letter.
language
Authorizing,
515-6Q to reflect Old Town. Right?
Scrolling sign.
new ordinance outside of Old Town.
Yeah.
Well, it has to be within the, I liked Stevens better when he said it, like, it had to reflect the current size restraint.
Same size, it doesn't change the size restrictions, it only allows.
Allow scrolling within the.
Non-digital electronic scroll signs.
Okay, I'm going to give it a shot. Or Terry, you're going to write something.
No, that's,
Okay.
yeah.
I think this was overlooked, and I think it took someone to realize it's because I think if we don't do this, we might be non-conforming in other businesses. So at least it gets it conforming for.
Yeah, yeah.
So are there any other questions? If not, is there a motion to recommend the amendments to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Article 5, and then 515-6Q to also include the allowing of non-digital scroll signs in Old Town, with Old Town size criteria. Article 9 definitions, 9.2 defined terms.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. It's nice helping businesses. Moving on to another business we need help. Consideration of an ordinance to approve amendment to the Town of Bluffton zoning map to rezone certain real property owned by J.C. Frazier consisting of approximately 1.24 acres located at 190, 192, 194, and 196 Gothey Road and identified as Beaufort tax map numbers, as you see in your agenda, from residential general zoning to neighborhood core zoning. Kevin, first reading.
Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you very much. And just so you're aware, Mr. Frazier is in the audience, and we'll be able to come up. If you have any questions for you, you can say a few words as well. So thank you for that. This is a zoning map amendment request, as you'd stated, from a residential general zoning designation to the neighborhood core, as it's related to the Unified Development Ordinance. So Mr. Frazier had submitted this request on October 1st. Currently, the residential general allows for single-family residential uses up to 4 units per acre, limited commercial uses, however, restaurants are not an allowed use. Planning Commission did make a recommendation on November 17th to approve the recommendation with a vote of 5-1. So the applicant is proposing to reestablish the property identified of 196 Gothey Road as a restaurant with the associated parking. The building has previously been used as a restaurant, a gas station, a pool hall, cafeteria for MC Riley School, and probably a lot of other things that I'm not aware of. Just a quick background. I'm not going to read through every single one of these, but you can see, like in 1964, Mr. Frazier Sr. Constructed the 1,500 square foot building, and it was listed as general purpose building. They operated a restaurant at that location until 1969 when it closed. In 1981, Town of Bluffton enacted zoning. The property was zoned residential use. Mr. Frazier Sr. was not permitted to reestablish any of those commercial uses. In 1984, Beaufort County denied a zoning variance to open the store across from MC Riley. It should be noted that MC Riley School was at that previous location on Gothey Road. In 91, Mr. Frazier requests a rezoning of the property from residential general to mixed use 2. That's an old zoning classification that the town had at that time. It was denied by town council on the recommendation provided by Beaufort County planning staff that they stated that the site lacked adequate infrastructure to handle the uses of a mixed-use 2 zoning district. In 93, the town council approved the rezoning request as recommended by planning staff to that mixed-use 2. In 1992, he received a state retail license. 1996, received a business license with the town. Between 2001 and 2002, the town rezoned the property to general residential. That was along with the annexation and established zoning on other properties along Goethe Road and Schultz Road. And then the town did provide a determination that he did have vested rights to continue that mixed use to designation with non-conforming use. In 2016, town attorney, provided a statement that the restaurant was not allowed, had abandoned that legal non-conforming use. You lose a legal non-conforming status after 1 year if a use is not reestablished. In September of this year, we met with Mr. Frazier on site for a pre-application meeting to discuss his steps that we've had. On the 28th of September, he submitted his application. November 1st, we had a workshop with the Planning Commission about this, and then on November 17th is when the Planning Commission held their public hearing. From a public notice standpoint, all property owners within 250 feet were notified. We put a notice in the paper, and a sign has been out on the property since October 17th. We did receive, I received a call from Mr. Serrano, who is the adjacent property owner to the north, and as stated, wished Mr. Frazier all the best in his rezoning, so had no concerns with the rezoning. We do have the 6 review criteria. All were met. I'm happy to go through any of them if you have any specific questions. This is the first reading that we're in front of you. So your actions are to approve the application as submitted, approve with amendments, to deny the application. And then again, Planning Commission voted that 5-1 for recommending approval. Mr. Frazier is here. If you'd like to come up and say a few words, and if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions, Kevin?
Kevin, what was the reason of the?
The nay vote was related to the concern that in that neighborhood core district, which is not in the historic district, so just so you know, this property is not located in the historic district, that the list of uses that are allowed in the neighborhood core seemed to be too intense for that location, and they had concerns about that. Even though there are numerous factors that come into play when dealing with development of a site, the one use that was in question was a car wash. However, you know, from a placement standpoint, most car washes would not be located on a smaller road like this. They would need more visibility. So,
Frazier tell them that he didn't want a car wash?
He did not. However, you know, anytime you rezone a property, all of the uses that are listed in that district have the opportunity to be there. So their concern was with that more intense use of the possibility.
Most times when we rezone a property, get them to tell us what their intentions are.
Yes. So his intentions are to reestablish the restaurant in the building that he has, and then the adjacent his other property is his single family residence. So he did clarify, yes, he wants to open his restaurant, and he gave a great speech to the Planning Commission.
All I have.
You have a question?
I do. More maybe on a technicality. I thought we had established, and maybe you did this is my question actually, like on the Wharf Street site where we had the bungalows that were going to come in. You don't remember that project? And I think it was brought up that we would send the certified letters to everybody around in
Yes.
that location, and we would do that throughout the entire town, and when something like this came, did we do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, when
Sure
you
did.
said communicated to the within 250 feet or whatever, I didn't know what that meant exactly.
Sure. They were certified letters.
Okay.
So Mr. Frazier did all of that, and we have copies of all of that.
And I'm a
for the
happy
file.
camper.
Okay.
Frazier? No. Questions of Mr. Frazier? I'm glad you came today, Mr. Frazier. Is there a motion to approve the request by J.C. Fraser Jr. for approval of an amendment to the Town of Bluffton official zoning map to rezone 2 parcels from residential general to neighborhood core. The subject parcels consist of approximately 1.24 acres and are identified by the tax map numbers as listed on the agenda.
So moved.
That motion?
Uh-oh. You make that motion? You want to second that motion?
Second,
Uh-oh.
third,
Okay.
I don't care.
Any discussion?
Make it again.
This is just something that shows sometimes we overlook things as we grow, and it's nice to know that if we see we miss something, and I don't think this sets precedent because there's an actual building sitting there, to make it right, it just makes me very proud. I love we're all, thank you, Mr. Fraser, for your patience. Anyway, any other discussion? All in favor, state by, you're welcome, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. We'll see it in January. Thank you, Mr. Fraser. Consideration of an ordinance to place deed restriction on town-owned property references New Riverside Park located at 30 Red Barn Drive, first reading.
Okay, so I don't have any fancy presentation, but
okay.
relatively quick and simple. It's, all the background is in your packet, and is also the conceptual plan for the New Riverside Barn property, which is what we're talking about. Back in October of this past year, the town was awarded a grant from the National Park Service in the amount of $500,000 to contribute towards the park improvements, site work, grading, restrooms, trails, all of that good stuff that it could qualify for in that conceptual plan. However, one of the conditions is that there's a deed restriction placed, a restrictive covenant placed on the property, that the property be continued to be used for outdoor recreation. So that does take 2 readings via ordinance. So tonight it's first reading. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or I can also pull up the motion.
Does this need to be approved within a certain time, or do we yet again ask for the pending ordinance doctrine so you can move forward?
We should be okay for timing it. They've requested that it has to be done by January 15th. So the next January town council meeting would be second reading, and we would be able to comply. Attorney agrees. I'm happy with that.
You like using it rarely, I can tell.
To protect us from
Overusing.
future applications.
Gotcha.
Retroactively
Thank you. You said that before, and I didn't hear you. Any questions on this?
Yeah, I do have a question, Heather.
Yes, ma'am.
So you said that the deed covenant put the stipulation that the purpose be for outdoor recreational use. That won't negate the intended use of the barn as like a potential like venue rental?
No, it will not. They had our conceptual plan, the plan that was approved by town council, but the land outside of that, it needs to be that outdoor recreation for the rest of it, but no.
Is it to keep from overdevelopment? I mean, are they just wanting to make sure it stays a park?
I'm assuming they just want it to stay a park, but I can't.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve on first reading of the ordinance approving the declaration of the covenant for the new Riverside Park property located at 30 Red Barn Drive and identified by Beaufort County Tax Map Number 601-036-000-1319-0000?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. We have consent agenda items. There's 7. Really great information on all of these. There are reports from all of our departments. Really good reading for those in the audience and all of us. Is there anything anyone wants to take off and have more discussion on? If not, is there a motion to approve our consent agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. We have 2 executive session items, so is there a motion to go into executive session for discussions relating to negotiations and contractual arrangements for the acquisition of real property? That's Act FOIA 3470A2, and personnel matters relating to town manager review, and that's FOIA 3470A2.
So moved.
Did I miss something, Kim? I think the second A1. Do I need to reread that? or is that a typo? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? It's nice seeing our residents back in here. I love you're here. It's getting back to where we used to be, so I appreciate y'all coming. All in favor, step by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Will there be, that's unanimous. Will there be action on any of this? Okay. Joe, there won't be any action on this. Okay, we're in executive session. We go back there. Thank you all. Have a very happy holiday. she's. Is there a motion to move out of executive session? No action was taken, no votes were cast. Is there a motion to
So
adjourn?
moved, second.
Done.
Yes.
Merry Christmas to
A
all.
motion to